Valentine's Day, roses, romance, candlelight, and sometimes emotional exhaustion, confusion, or heartbreak. That feels like a betrayal to your own intuition. Today, we are opening up love season with a week of our Valentine edition shows. We're not just talking about sweet love stories. Well, we are, but right now we're talking about something real, something powerful, and something too many of us have experienced, but never had the words for. What happens when love feels like emotional manipulation and not connection? Is it love or narcissism in disguise? To help us break this down, I'm joined by Dr. Nakpanji Thomas, licensed counselor, clinical traumatologist, and expert in trauma relationships and navigating the impact of narcissistic dynamics in our lives. If you've ever wondered why some people drain you emotionally, why boundaries feel impossible, or why love doesn't feel like love anymore, this episode is for you. This is Love, Narcissism, and Boundaries, Valentine's edition. Let's get into it. Dr. Thomas, you are joining us all the way from Japan. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
you are so welcome. When you send me the call to come and be on your show, I was like, yes, I will make time. Whatever time you need me, I will be there.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it when you get back to the States and get back to Michigan at some point, because I know you've been there a while and you're doing a lot of great work. But when you do get back, we have to get you in studio.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us, you've been working a lot around the narcissism issue in your work. How do you define narcissism and what isn't it?
Well, narcissism looks a little bit different depending on the type of narcissist the individual is, but generally, narcissism describes a type of personality displayed by like inflated sense of self. For example, very arrogant, overly confident, entitled, sometimes thinking that they're even special. There's a sense of self-importance. Um, what's a constant need for validation, attention, admiration. This can be summed up into what's called narcissistic supply. And then there's also a lack of accountability, always playing the victim. And one of the key primary factors is a lack of empathy. I'm quite sure you've heard that before.
Absolutely. And there are different types of narcissism. So, can you tell us a little bit about those types?
So you have the malignant, or what we call their typical narcissist, with the grandiose attitude, um, really self-entitled, taking no accountability. Then you have somebody that's more covert, that's going to be shy, and they're always going to play the victim and be more passive aggressive. Then you also have communal narcissists that get their supply and more they're more prominent in society, where you'll see them as political leaders or some type of leader in some organization. Um, and then there's
And we do see that today in politics, especially at the top in the administration. So,
absolutely. So you know exactly what I'm talking about when we're talking about the typical narcissist. That's the one that everybody knows so well. But the other forms can be overlooked as well, as seen as the good guy or always playing the hero. So we have to be careful with those people that are overly nice.
well, with narcissism, it could be kind of misconstrued maybe as self-love. We talk a lot about self-love nowadays. So what's the difference between self-love and narcissism?
Well, self love is gonna, that's kind of challenging, but the primary difference with self love and narcissism is that self love involves healthy self respect, and self care, where you're promoting your well being. While narcissism, on the other hand, is characterized again by that inflated sense um, of self worth, and that lack of empathy again. When you have self love, you respect others, and you care about their needs as well as your own. But in narcissism, you won't see that. So
So
that's going to be
someone with self-love has empathy as well versus a narcissist who does not have empathy.
exactly.
Very good. I know you mentioned too, we talked about, and we'll get more into narcissistic supply, but what emotional needs is a narcissist actually trying to feel?
That's a very good question. Some would say narcissists don't feel, but what they're actually trying to do is feel some type of appreciation, some type of like they've accomplished something. So there's that need even to be part of a community, but the sense of self and security are the two driving factors, if you ask me, in working with individuals with narcissism that have been involved with narcissists, or even just my own personal experience with these type of individuals.
Okay, and then from your experience too, I know, let's get more into the narcissistic supply
Mhm.
because that is a lot of the fuel for narcissists. They identify someone who is their supply, they target them, and let's talk about that narcissistic supply. How does that show up in relationships?
Well, it shows up differently. So in the beginning, when you're first dating this person, they're going to spend a lot of time with you. They're going to give you a lot of compliments. They're going to put you on a pedestal. Everything is whatever you need, and then they're monopolizing your time. So those are things you want to kind of look out for in the beginning of the relationship, especially when they start to monopolize your time. They want to spend every minute with you. They can't get enough with you. You are like God sent. Oh, they'll tell you, oh, I can't believe that you're here. I've been waiting for you all my life. You know,
They start love
um,
bombing you.
exactly. They love volume. They're always seeking attention and validation. So you want those are some of that supply that they're looking for, where you're feeding them and telling them how great they are as well. Because in the beginning, they're very charming, very loving, and then all of a sudden things just take a turn and you're like, what just happened here? This a different person? And they'll have you thinking that you're crazy because their need for supply will lead them to do anything.
So, what
Almost.
exactly is narcissistic supply?
So narcissistic supply is what the narcissist actually receives. So it's attention. So they're seeking that attention. That supply is the attention that their person gives them. So if you're married to someone that's a narcissist, you're going to notice that you're spending a lot of time caring for their needs and their wants, and notice that your needs go just fall by the wayside. They don't care about what you need. You can even tell them, um, I really wish that you would communicate with me more positively. And they'll say, yeah, okay, but then they don't do it. And that keeps coming up in your conversation, the need for healthy communication. And they say, okay, but they continue to have poor communication, to start even devaluing you. And what I mean by devaluing is making it seem like you're worthless, not a person within the relationship. And you'll even start to feel like you're alone, even though
Mm.
that person is right there with you. It's kind of like they're empty vessel. I don't know if that
So
makes.
it makes absolute sense. And I like you've had experiences, so have I, unfortunately. So it starts out with the cycle starts out with the love bombing phase, and they're very charming, they're very nice, they're very kind. Other people that may know them may not recognize that they're a narcissist because they are very nice and kind, or can be very nice and kind and generous in
Ye-
different ways.
Yes,
However,
absolutely.
However, then it goes into a state of, you said, devaluing. How does that fit in with narcissistic supply?
So it feeds them in a different way because when a narcissist gets with you, it's usually because you have some type of um, attribute that they don't have. So they admire you for having that attribute, or it could be having a good job, or having some type of influence within the community or a certain industry. And they need you so that they can prop themselves up or even get connections, or just with you just because you are a person of influence. So now they feel that they're a person of influence because they're dating you. So I forget what the question was.
How does the devaluing phase tie into the narcissistic supply?
Okay, so what it does is they'll put you up on that pedestal and just to start chipping away at you to make themselves feel better, and that they're bigger than you. So they,
Wow.
again, they eat with you for everything, the positive things. And when they can't um, do those things themselves, for example, you introduce them to some political people, and those people don't accept them, or they only talk to them while you're around. That upsets them because they weren't able to gain entry into that circle. So now they're going to start to value you. Oh, well, you think you are high and mighty because you hang around these political people. They don't mean anything. You don't mean anything to them. So they'll start saying things like that to you,
And
or
and
say,
so
"Oh, they're not really your friends." So even trying to, get people who were your friends or colleagues to even have you second guess, well, maybe they're not my friends. Maybe these people don't like me.
and so the narcissistic supply changes, it sounds like. It goes from the attention phase to and they're getting something, I guess, out of giving you attention at the time because not right now they're idolizing you. And so they're getting
Yes,
something out of the giving you attention and at some point they start to the same things that they idolize you for, they start to resent you for those things. And during that
exactly.
phase they begin to devalue you and then they're inflating their ego because they're feeling bigger than you. And so
Exactly. Exactly. Because the biggest thing about I was going to say the biggest thing behind a narcissist's feelings too is the feeling of low self-esteem and low self-worth. That's really how they feel deep down, and that's why they need that supply to make them feel more than what they really are, and to have other people give them that admiration and the validation that they deeply, deeply need.
do they know that they have low self-esteem at the root of who they are?
At the root, yes, they know this. That's why they try to be bigger than they are, or live outside of their means, to protect their reputation and just their overall appearance. Everything about them is pretty much a facade, and they can live up to that facade as long as people don't get too close to them. If you notice, or if you talk to people who've been in relationship with a narcissist, they'll tell you that, oh, they don't have that many friends, or they're not that close to their family. So you'll notice some of those trends to watch out for, when you're just looking at dating people and making sure that this person is not that toxic and that they have good connections within their friend groups.
So they're actually the epitome of fake it until you make it, it sounds like.
Yes, yes,
So
that
why
sounds just about right.
why do some people get hooked on narcissistic partners?
Ooh, now I can get scientific on you here. I can nerd out, or I can give you a simple answer. But we're really looking at patterns. It's a pattern, and it's created to keep the person hooked to this high of the relationship, and then the lows happen. So it allows for the person to let me see, how do I want to explain this? So I am going to nerd out just a little bit. So one
Okay.
of the most profound and troubling aspects is like the dopamine functions in it. As far as his role as being addictive, because this relationship is a toxic, but it's one based on addiction, like you would see for someone that's addicted to any type of substance. It's the dopamine that that kind of like it hijacks your reward system and the pathways to create that powerful urge that you want to be with this person.
Well, because
So,
the love bombing phase, right? The love bombing phase, you're
yes,
getting so much attention, you're getting gifts, you're getting whatever it is that that particular narcissist brings to the table. You're getting all of their time, whatever it is that you like, and you're getting hooked to those times and those things that they're doing for you. And then
e-
and then it gets pulled away because they start to devalue you.
exactly. So that's that roller coaster effect that we're talking about. You get the highs from your dopamine, and then you want to keep that high. And so I'm going to liken it to the behaviors when they're love bombing, when everything is good and you have such a happy relationship, you having good communication, they're taking you out, maybe even giving you gifts or just showing you a little more attention. And then that lasts for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or two. And then all of a sudden they start to withdraw. They stop talking to you. Um, they become mean. They may call you names or just disappear. And then you're looking for that love feeling again. So you're feeling low and you're like, okay, all I need them to do is just smile at me. All I need them to do is just to say something nice to me. And you're searching for that high again, which is that good positive behavior. So throughout the relationship, they keep doing this. They give you something good, then they take it away. They give it to you again, then they take it away. It's conditioning. It's like Pablo and the dog, where he conditioned the dog. It's the same type of conditioning that narcissists do to their
Why? Why do they do this?
control. It's the most simplest thing is boiling down to control. They're able to control you. The easier they can control you, the more that they can manipulate you, the more that they can take from you, and the more that you will feel a less sense of your own self-esteem, which is what they're trying to do, trying to take your self-esteem away, your self-worth, so that you can be dependent on them for even your own thoughts.
Wow. And it gets so deep. What are, and we want people to know, we want people to recognize what's happening because a lot of times, say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, there were narcissists in the population, although it's gotten worse now with social media, the way that it is and other things. But There are people stuck in these relationships that still don't know what they are. They don't know how to identify the toxic behaviors or the patterns to even break free, to get help, and to understand what's happening to them. So, can you tell us what are the earliest signs of narcissistic behavior in love?
Okay. So, I want to go back to something you were saying. With all the social media out here, more and more people are becoming aware of what narcissism is, what narcissistic traits are, because I'm wanting to say everybody that may display some of these traits doesn't mean that they have narcissistic personality disorder, but they could have some of the traits. And we all have a few of those traits, having a good sense of self, so self confidence, um, and having a good sense of self worth. Those things are not bad traits. It's only when it goes to the extreme and then you're not caring about someone else. But some of the early signs of being in a narcissistic relationship may be moving too fast. You first meet this person, and then 3 weeks they want to move in with you, or they want to meet your parents, or they want to even get married. So those look out for moving too fast. Again, like I said, the lack of close friendships. Somebody that can't have close friends and always getting into it with family members, that's a red flag. That means they don't have good communication. If they don't get along with their family or friends, they're not going to be able to have a good, positive relationship with you. Um, Getting extravagant gifts. You may get, it may be a birthday, and they, instead of getting you a dozen flowers, they get you a room full of roses. That's a little excessive. It doesn't warrant all that. Um, do you want to look at unkept promises or plans? If they make plans to go to dinner and then they don't show up, if you make plans to go to the park, they don't show up, or even if you just make plans to come spend time with each other and they don't show up and don't give you um, an explanation that seems logical, or they always have an explanation or excuse for something that why they didn't do it. So that boils down to that lack of accountability. So if you see some of these behaviors, they overlap. Um,
And
and then
inconsistency as
even
well.
again, exactly. And then we also talked about earlier the royalty or the king and queen or king treatment, where they hold you up on this pedestal, and you're this wonderful person, and you can't be touched, and they're hanging on your every word. Those are those beginning warning signs, because they can do that for a good 90 days, but around that 90-day mark, you start to see some things in their behavior start to change. They are not as attentive as they were. They're not going to be calling you and sending you text messages every 5 minutes, because it can be a little overwhelming in the beginning. I'm just going to be honest. Tiffany said you had some experience, so can you any of this of what I'm saying, does that resonate with you?
A lot of it definitely resonates with me. And you mentioned accountability. I think accountability is huge. It is very hard, very difficult for a narcissist to be accountable, to say, I'm sorry. And then there are times when they can, do behavioral modifications. But like you said, it won't
Mm-hmm.
last for long. So some
Right.
may be able to apologize, some may not be able to apologize, but then can they continue on not doing, I apologize, I won't do it again. Can they continue to not do it again? Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. And that's generally the downfall with a narcissist. They can do anything for a little bit of time. Um, but they really out in public um is they're so different than how they are behind closed doors. Behind closed doors is their true self, where they are a little bit meaner or a lot meaner. Some even could be abusive. And then when they're out in public, they're that perfect person, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're so nice. I can't believe that you found such a nice person. And I'm not just talking about with men, because we have women that are narcissists as well, who display some of these same behaviors, and sometimes even a little bit worse from some of my accounts and working with survivors. So
How long have you been
beware those.
working in this area?
So I'm gonna say I've been working with narcissism probably for the past 10 years. But I have narcissists narcissistic individuals within my family. So I've lived and grew up with narcissism. As a kid, you don't know what it is. But you know something is not right, especially if you have a parent that's always in competition with you. This is supposed to be your parent. Why are they in direct competition with you? Um,
And,
so not
and
in
when
just
it's
love relationships everywhere.
oh, it is, and when you have narcissists in your family or you have a parent that's a narcissist, it makes it easier to fall victim of a narcissist because you normalize the behaviors and what's happening.
Exactly, exactly. And that's how you even start to get involved in relationships with a narcissist, because like you said, you're so used to a certain behavior. And we all try to create some type of homeostasis when we're in a relationship. We want something that looks familiar to us. So if you've been raised by a narcissist, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be drawn to those type of individuals. They're going to be drawn to you, and sometimes you may even become one. So beware of even yourself, and do some self assessments to just kind of check our own behaviors, because even um, like I said, even we can have some of those traits of narcissism, because if you were raised around a narcissist, or if you've dated a narcissist for a consistent amount of time. I'm going to say at least 2 years. If you dated one for at least 2 years, you're going to pick up on some of those behaviors yourself and have some toxic traits.
And like you said, I think everybody has a certain level of narcissistic traits. Um, and you can pick up on some more of those behaviors and
Yes.
toxic behaviors. However, I think some things will remain the same. If you're an empathetic person, you will still have empathy, or does that change as well?
You will still have empathy. So with personality, those are things that are embedded in you. That's why it's hard for a narcissist to even change, because it's their personality. So if you are an empathetic person, that's not going to change. You're going to stay an empathetic person. You may be a little more guarded um, in the future. You may be more self aware and more discerning when you are picking out a mate or even just friends. So you're going to be a little more cautious um, to who you put in your space. So I don't think you ultimately change who you are. I think that you do change some of your behaviors, and some of your qualities will change only because of what you've been dealing with and what you experience, because our worldviews tend to shape us as well as the experiences that we have. So, yes, there's going to be some changes, but are you going to totally change? No, you're not.
Fundamentally, you will still be who you are, and hopefully with counseling, with healing, with doing the work, you'll change for the better. And
Exactly.
some of those traits, and we'll talk about that a little later, some of those traits that attracted the narcissist, you'll be able to identify them within yourself that you can heal and move forward. We narcissists are so very charming in a lot of ways, especially during that love bombing phase that feels so good, but it is so wrong. So why is it so hard to set boundaries with someone who seems so charming?
Oh, wow. I mean, that kind of answers itself, you know? Um, as somebody is charming, you it's gonna be harder um because they make you feel good. When you're feeling good, you want more of that feeling, right? You want more of that feeling of feeling love, that sense of belonging. And then on, on the other side, there's an element of manipulation used that has you crossing your own boundaries. Sometimes it's your own ego or your need for love that will help you just not thinking about your boundaries and say, you know what, I don't have just I'll cross it this time. I'll just cross it this time. It's not um it's an erosion, let me say, of your boundaries because you'll let little things slide and then you just keep going because that person is making you feel like um, you're the best person in the world. That's how they make you feel like they boost your confidence and your ego in the beginning and you just want more of that feeling and they are giving you the attention, the love that you need and you want more of it. So again, it goes back to that feeling and that dopamine, um, that feel good reward system that we have built in that makes us um, just forego our boundaries.
And it goes back into that whole cycle that, of what they're doing so that they can gain control. Well, if I
Mm-hmm.
do what they want, we can get back to the love and all of that. But it's really
Yes,
about control.
exactly. I remember I was dating this guy and we would always go out, have fun, go to concerts and all that. And then once I realized the type of relationship that this was, I was like, oh, I need to slow down. I need to pump the brakes. And then we were driving in the car, going down the lodge, and they were like, oh, I remember all the good times we used to have. We need to get back to the good times. I said, well, then you need to make those good times happen. And they just
Mm.
kind of looked at me like trumped up in the face. Once once you realize what you're dealing with, you can't fake it anymore. It's like, you know what? I want you out of my life, and then it's not even easy getting them out of your life. That's a whole ordeal. That's like another show.
Well, and this this show right now is getting really good. This is part one. We are going to go into part two, but so I'm going to pause it here, and um, I want to really thank everybody for joining us on this episode, part one, and we hope today's discussion has inspired you to grow, connect, and thrive in your personal and professional life to further your journey of self discovery and empowerment. We invite you to explore the Know Thyself book series designed to deepen your understanding of self awareness and personal growth. If today's episode moved you, drop a flex biceps in the comments and share how you've kept rising in your own journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because healing stories like these need to be heard.
People ask all the time, who the heck is low-cost airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now.
Call 855-662-0261. That's 855-662-0261. Again, 855-662-0261.
Hi, I'm the tax lady. Do you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS? Then listen carefully. You may be able to pay the IRS less and save thousands of dollars because right now there are special government tax programs for people like you who owe the IRS. We can even help you if you have unfiled tax returns. And if you qualify, you'll pay less money to the IRS or state. Stop worrying about wage garnishments and bank levies and call the number on the screen right now for a free tax review. We know what you're going through. We help good people like you every day pay the IRS or state less taxes all the time. If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, call now for your free, no-obligation consultation with a tax professional. Don't fight the IRS alone. Call the Tax Ladies team today.
Call the Tax Lady at 877-335-7471. Call now.
Are you ready to rise above the noise, reclaim your power, and walk boldly in your purpose? This is Thrive and Rise with Tiffany, the podcast that's more than just talk. It's a movement.
Every setback is a setup for a greater comeback, and I'm here to walk with you through every chapter.
Join Tiffany Tilley, visionary, author, advocate, and overcomer as she sits down with dynamic leaders, everyday heroes, and purpose-driven changemakers who are thriving against the odds, with real conversations on healing, growth, and faith, to bold strategies for leadership, legacy, and impact. This is your space to be inspired, empowered, and equipped. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, or any major podcast platform. And remember,
come for the inspiration, stay for the community. Keep thriving with Tiffany.